I'm really excited about this episode. We have a special guest with us today, Lee Oliver. Lee Oliver is the head of digital workplace practice, has so many years behind him in experience working with Microsoft, digital workplace technologies. He leads a large team of consultants and specialists in the field. So we will learn a lot today about the digital workplace, the skills that the market requires, the new trends that are impacting the M365 world, and a few other things around management and the exciting world of corporate and IT and tech. Hi, Lee. Thank
Hey,
you for making time to join me today.
you're
Really
welcome.
excited to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Can you introduce yourself to us? Hopefully, I did some justice in my intro.
You did too
Tell
much.
us, tell us about you. Where are you now? A bit of how you got into tech, so we have an
Yeah.
idea.
So Lee, and I've been in IT for far too long. I started back in '97, so over 25 years now. That's quite scary, isn't it? And I started in the world of fax, so probably not many people know what that word means anymore. But we used to do faxing to desktop, so making it over network. So that was where I always started from. And that became my love of technology, really, understanding how to integrate and expand infrastructures. And that's where Microsoft sort of took hold of me. So if you cut me open to the core is what you'll find is Microsoft pretty much. And I've got the old school knowledge which I'm trying to apply to the modern world, basically, which I think is quite important.
You know, the other day, they posted a photo of the floppy disk on the internet, and some of the young crowd didn't know what that was.
Scary, isn't it? I mean, that save button, I still click even now. There's no need. There's no need.
Unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, looking back at it and where tech was like 10, 15 years ago and where we are today is a completely different. And I think that what makes our field so special and our specialty unique in a sense that we must be current and up to date. Otherwise, we just fall behind. So like for doctors, for example, the human body is the human body. A few advancements happen here and there, but what we do changes weekly.
Absolutely. Yeah. If you had told me 15, 20 years ago that you wouldn't be installing tin and it'd be in the cloud, I'd be like, I don't think so. No one's going to do that. It's scary how quick that turns.
Unbelievable. So Lee, you mentioned that you have over 25 years of experience, and that's impressive, on its own. But I know that you've worked with large organizations, different industries and sectors, but you also worked for startups. And I believe where you are now, you started when the company at Transparity was a startup. You were like one of the veterans who joined the company really early on.
Yeah.
So I think that's a decision that many of us would have to make at some stage in their career. What's your experience been like working for a well-established organization and joining a small team of few people?
I think do you know what? It's one of those things, isn't it? You rely on the people that you trust. And I was very, very fortunate for the two founders that I worked quite closely with at the start for another company. And I remember them at the time saying, you know what, we're gonna break away and we're gonna set up our own business. And I was like, sounds a bit scary. I'm not sure about this. I'm about to apply for a mortgage and they're offering me a job initially. And I was like, but it was one of the things, funny, isn't it? I actually spoke to my granddad about it and he said, do you trust them? And I was like, yeah, I do. And are they a good salesman? And I was like, one of the best. And how's the technical guy? Is he really good? And I said, he is incredible. And that's Colin and David. And I just thought, do you know what? They're going to make this work. So I made the leap of faith. And from the moment I walked through that door, I was literally booked out as a consultant. There was not a day that went past me that I wasn't booked out. And I knew from that moment, this is going to go somewhere. And we went from 4 people to 300 plus people?
I know. It's unbelievable. Since I've been at Transparity, I think we grew almost by double, if not more.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a testament to success. So how did David and Colin pitch the idea to you? to
It
join a
was,
startup and leave, your steady job?
I-
They must have done a good pitch.
they did, and I think that's David and Colin's influence is infectious because when they know something's right, they'll go for it. And for me, they just kept reaching out continuously, saying, "Look, it's going to be okay. Come and join us. Come and join us." And I think because I knew them so much beforehand, I knew that they had invested so much of their own personal time, and I think that counts for massive success. Because if you invest yourself into something, you want to succeed. And I wanted to be part of that picture. I thought, do you know what? I want to see is something that's going to grow from. I've never been to a business that started up from the ground up. I've never done that before, and it's one of these tick boxes that I probably won't ever do again. But I've done it, and I'm so happy I did. And where I am now, we want to change it for the world. It's incredible. It's just they've kept the essence from what it was when they started, and that still runs true for the core right now.
Absolutely. And I think when it comes to dealing with founders directly, especially founders who are passionate about what they do, what they bring into the world, it's infectious. And you just, get on board with, you get excited to be part of that journey, don't you?
Yeah. And I think it's the ability to spread your wings. If you've got an idea, they want to hear it. It's not one of the cases where it's a dictatorship. This is how it's going to be. This is what you're going to do. It's like, what do you think? What would you like to do? Yeah. And that's rare. And luckily, that still stands today.
So that's been a few years ago. You experienced it. It's under your belt. If we give, not an advice, but an expectation for people who may consider working for a startup, what did you find as pros or maybe cons, in comparing to going to a well-established company? What would you like to share with people?
I suppose you need sometimes to step out of your comfort zone because it's quite easy to stay where you are. And if you do that, you'll always wonder, what if? Now, if you've got the skill set behind you, then I wouldn't worry. I think go for that opportunity, because if it doesn't work out, there's another one around the corner. There's another door to go through. You're going to be employed for a few months at least. And if you don't like it, then you just hand your notice in and find another job. And because you've got that skill set that you obviously wanted, you'll be snapped up by someone else. So if you've got that background and you've got that knowledge, use it, try it out. The worst can happen is it didn't work out. At least you know, rather than go, what if? And that's, for me, my partner sort of drummed that into me. He's like, you're going to regret this if you didn't do it. And she's so right. So yeah. The other half pushed a little bit, and it works.
Well, that's good. You have the other half to thank. Then
I do. Yes, I remember the whole pros and cons, and the pros is getting longer and longer, and the cons were like, it's not that much. And so my advice is, if you see the opportunity, if the person you're going to is great at what they do and they're passionate and they believe in it, you're gonna be fine.
Absolutely. Yeah, and exactly like you said there, Lee, it's worth trying.
It is.
And if your career is always static, always doing the same thing, you're not really going to grow as a person and as a professional. And I'm sure working for a startup with only small group of people, and then you get a client asking for something that you've never dealt with, you never worked with, but you still need to make that, relationship work with the new client. Yeah. You will end up learning things, in an accelerated manner, just, to win the work, and also you grow that way.
You do. I think, is it Richard Branson said, if you know 10% of something, it's worth a go, because you'll learn the rest of it. True. You'll get through. And that's very true. And I think as well, with customers that come through, the golden rule is that really that people buy from people they like. So if you're likable, you're already halfway there. They just got to show you that you can do it technically, and you've got the whole package.
So, Lee, given that you are a leader, that you work with senior consultants and people at different stages of their careers, and you hire people, you interview people, you look for talent. What are and I think people will be interested in this question, especially the viewers who are on the other side of the job interview, or they might be looking to get into this field. You, as someone who hires and look for talent, what characteristics you look in people? So we will talk about skills and all that, but as a person, how do you go about that to get the right person to be in your team?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first thing is, do they smile? Are they happy? Are they a happy person at the end of the call? Is it a forced smile? Are they looking forward to talking to me? And then really, do I get that warmth? Do I feel that you're not looking for a friendship, because obviously this is a business, but you're looking for a partnership. You're looking for, can I actually talk to someone? Can we be open? And I think coming across as probably not too stiff, in a sense of like very straight answers, not expanding, it comes across as cold. And I think that warm touch about, how was the weekend? You have a good time? Excellent. And really, if it's a bit of back and forth and a bit of flow, then immediately that shows that someone's actually got a bit of character. They can talk, because it's really important, I feel, in our industry, that you can talk to customers, and customers want to be talked to. They want to be listened to as well. And I think it's quite key on the first interview. Can you hold just a gentle conversation and be human? And if you can do that, then that's a massive tick in my eye straight away.
Absolutely. Just be yourself.
Be yourself.
And be human.
Yeah. Because we are all human. Yeah. End of the day, we're all here for the same purpose. We all want to make a living, supply your money for our friends and families, whatever that's going to be, and we're all here for a good job. But we need to all get along as well. So long as you can show me that you're, grounded and open to talk, and I think that's a big start for me.
So let's put this like a bit of a challenge or of a question. So you're interviewing different people, and you have someone who scores, let's say, 70% of the skills, as in, tech, whatever, and someone who scores, let's say, 60% of the skills, but they have the right fit of personality.
Yeah.
How would your decision process be like?
It would be the one that's got the 60%. If he's got the right, he or she, sorry, he's got the right personality.
Of course,
yeah. Then for me, and we'll probably get onto this, but with a team, that connection is so important, and that they can all bounce off each other. If you get one person who feels like they can't bounce, then that poor person is isolated, or they feel siloed, and that's not where we're at. So I would rather have someone who had less skills but was keen as anything to skill up from the bits they're not too sure on and have the right fit. Would definitely beat the person who's got like 20 Microsoft exams, seen it and done it all, bit arrogant. Then you're not going to fit. You're not going to fit the bigger picture, because that's not what we're about. We're a team. So for me, I wouldn't worry. Skills and technology is important, but being a fit is massive.
Amazing. And I think this is really such a valuable tip for people, because I think especially specialists and people in our field, when they are early on in their career, they focus on, I can code in this language and I've done this certificate. But actually what sets them apart, like you said there, Lee, is who they are, the personality they bring to the table, their conversation skills, showing that they are trustworthy and someone that you can depend on. Can you actually tell from reading the CV, because you've been looking at that for a long time, and when you interview people and you match the CV to the personality, can you tell from the way they write, or maybe the wording they use, you can tell this someone is like, or is it difficult to tell?
It's difficult to tell. I think sometimes you can be blindsided by someone who wants to overpower their CV with every single technology they've ever touched. And yes, you might have done a FortiGate firewall, you might have done Cisco, but if you're applying for the role that is 365 in this well, maybe focus a little bit on the modern technology that you're actually involved with currently, because I'm more interested in what you're doing now. Because as you said earlier, technology is moving very fast, and the old technology, like your old classic firewalls and VPNs, that's still there, but that's what I'm looking for. So tailor the CV to keep it fresh and modern. I'm not really interested in what you did 10 years ago. It doesn't really matter now. It's a nice skill to have, but you're applying for a role where you're doing modern work. And that's what we want to see in the CV, is what you've done recently. What can you do? Because that's where I can utilize you straight away.
Amazing. And our esteemed viewers, we will talk about skills where the marketed trends are going, and Lee is the perfect person really to walk us through what's expected, what are the things to learn, what's in demand. So over the past 12 months more, you've taken the leadership role, and because I know, given that I work with you, you've transformed the energy, the synergy and the team. And of course, without going into details, but what you've done elevated how we deliver, how we do things. And I think such things need to be shared with people in a way. You may have people who are taking leadership role for the first time in their life, and there are things that they may not think about, lessons learned, whether it's negative or positive. How do you approach your leadership and management styles, or maybe things that you learned you can share with new leaders who are taking similar roles?
Well, firstly, that's really, really kind of you, and I will pay you some money later on after this call. So thank you for
that. A coffee would do.
Okay, thank you. Do you know what? I suppose for me, team is everything. So the first thing that I noticed that wasn't happening, and I knew that I'd want to be part of, is hearing about everyone's day and hearing about what they're up to. Because when you bring people together in a room virtually, everyone gets a moment to talk, and it's really interesting. Do you know what? I'm doing this today. I'm looking into that, and I'm not so sure how I'm going to do this. And it's amazing when you see another person in that same call in your team pop the hand up and go, do you know what? I can help you with that. Now, that doesn't happen. If you don't have those meetings in the morning, how do you know if someone's struggling a little bit unless they reach out? And it's also interesting because you might learn that someone is doing something you've never heard of before, and they've got some free time and say, do you know what? I'd like to see that in action. Can I join you later today? So the first step for me was the team. I'm very fortunate. The team I got are fascinating. They're a brilliant bunch of guys, very skilled, and I lucked out. So really all I did was bring us all together, talk in the mornings, and that was amazing. And instantly I got a connection because I could learn from each one of them, learn their personalities a little bit. They learned each other's personalities more than they probably realized. Yeah. And then it's finding the time to make sure you call and you talk. Like, how's your day going? In like one-on-one, got any problems, any questions? Not constantly, because no one wants to be micromanaged, and that's I'm not into micromanaging at all, because we're all adults, we're all grown-ups, we're here to do a job, and it's pretty evident if you can't do your job because it doesn't get done in time. So we can talk about that at another stage. But the ability to remember that at the end of the day, they're just a person over the line, just trying to get by, get the work done, do as best as they can, get themselves promoted, and they're a human being. It's one-on-one. Just treat people how you like to be treated yourself is definitely the right motto on that. And I just think that's how I want to be treated.
Yeah. Now, I think it's evident from the way you're talking now, the human side is quite important to you. And you mentioned it a few times. I don't know if you realize what you did. You mentioned the human being. And I think this is something sometimes people overlook. When you get into the corporate world, and it's all about utilization and EBITDA and deliverables. But if you stick to bases and deal people, with people having that decency, the human touch, being transparent, communicative, you will get the best out of them, I think.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So you talked about communication quite a bit. I agree with you 100%. I think that's really important. The last thing you want is a leader or a manager who's absent, who doesn't communicate his expectations, if there are problems that are going on in the team. What other things that you learned while doing the job that made a difference?
I think when you're told something, when an employee has something to tell you and they're not happy about, it's great to listen. It's better to react and actually make a difference and actually do it quick. I think the thing I've noticed is a surprise reaction I get from people in the team when they've come up to me and said, you know what, XYZ, and they leave it with me thinking, now Lee's not going to do anything with this. And then they hear back from me later that day, and I'll come back and say, right, so tomorrow we're going to try this. You're going to talk to this person. We'll see what we can do. We'll see if we can move your job around. And I think for me, it's that don't be just a listener, listen and action, because that speaks volumes and it shows confidence, and that just keeps getting bigger and bigger, because then you find they really open up to you. And that's, I want them to open up to me. I want to open back to them. And that's again, is such a big deal, that whole communication piece. And I learned that actually from a PM back in the day she used to do stand-ups, and used to talk to us and make us talk about our day. And it was very reactive to everything we had problems with. And I thought, that's incredible. I had so much respect for her that I kind of adopted that attitude as well. And it's definitely, that's what I am to the core. I've actually, this is what it should be. So yeah,
amazing. It's amazing how much you learn from people around you throughout your career journey, and there is no shame, of learning from people and be humble and pick things up. That's how you grow. This is what I try to do, because I was fortunate to work with fantastic people throughout my career, and you always pick one thing there, one thing from someone, and that shapes up who you are as a professional at the end of the day. So that takes me to the next question that I had in mind, because I think it's very important, especially for consultants and leaders who work in the digital transformation space, which is a busy space, as we know. It's the future, especially now with AI adoption. Really, you don't have a chance to be current and efficient as a business. If you work with data technology, you'll be shooting yourself in the foot. So I know you've been working, you facilitated and helped winning the largest UK digital transformation project. And it's not really a project, it's a program on a huge enterprise scale. How did that feel like? How is it different than the typical engagements when you do digital transformation, let's say with small business or medium business? When you go to that wide international enterprise, how did that look like? What are your thoughts of it? What did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, it was terrifying, to be honest. At first, it's absolutely terrifying. When you're dealing with that level, it's intense. But then when you've got an enterprise level and that sort of size of business across the globe, and you're working out how you're going to transform these guys from Google to 365, and they're all over the world, and they don't even know their data, they don't know how they work, and they're looking at you for all the answers. The first thing is surround yourself by an incredible team, and I'm very fortunate. I had two incredible consultants on this that have really supported this whole process. I've supported even run the process. But for me to oversee it and understand it, it's like we've done as a team. You break it down into chunks. Don't get overwhelmed by the bigger picture, because that will consume you. If I start to think about what this is and how much this is worth and what this is going to go, what could go wrong, blimey, I'd be in an early grave. You need to take a step back. And I realize with enterprise businesses of this size that things move a little bit slower. There's a lot more red tape. There's a lot more caution. There's a lot more documentation and real granular on who's responsible. So that was a massive lesson learned for myself and the team. And once you break it down into chunks, it's amazing how quickly that puzzle starts to form a picture. And that's been the approach, and it still is the approach right now. We're still breaking it into chunks. And what that's allowed us to do is understand their environment better than the customer did, because we've had to break it down in so many different areas, which they would never be able to do because they're so consumed by it. But as outsiders, we can go, this chunk here, that's what we're looking to first of all. And it's been scary, but what's come out of that is incredible processes that we can now use for other customers, incredible documentation, so many lessons learned, because Google don't make it easy to exit from them to 365. They really don't.
I'm not surprised.
I'm not surprised either. And this seems to be a common thing. So it's really exciting. And I hope we get more of it because I think we'll just get faster and faster at the approach. And but as you just said, it's forever changing. So who knows what other hurdles we'll come across on the next migration from Google to 365 at that size. But luckily, Microsoft and what they do with their collaboration between tenants and MTO has been really a game changer for us, and is actually what this is all primarily based on. So if it wasn't for that technology, I'm not sure these conversations would be had. So yeah, it's been very good.
So you mentioned that you broke things into chunks, approach it in a phased approach, and do it one step at a time. So was there like a style of project management or an approach that you made as the standard, or is it you adapt and change depending on what the requirement or the deliverable is?
I think you do adapt and change depending on the deliverable, definitely. And for us, I think the first big element of chunk that we found was data. The data was huge. We're talking about, I think it was over 250 terabytes of data, and that's a colossal amount of data.
Massive.
Yeah, and you think about the mappings to individuals and sharing and file content, and the Google structure is very different to 365. So understanding that was quite complex, and especially when it comes to Google Sites and transforming that to SharePoint, because that's a square peg in a round hole scenario. They don't really marry up too nicely, do they? There's tools out there, but would you really want a tool to mishmash that into a SharePoint site? I don't think I would. So we've learned a lot about tooling, and that part of that chunk there was, is there right tooling? And in some scenarios, there is tooling that can pull it across and it'd probably be okay. But if it was me, and what we've sold back to them as the right approach is, this is your opportunity to use the Google services from fresh with a nice clean slate, not pulling over any legacy stuff and getting it right. And that's is the winning answer, because we don't have to migrate it, but we can give them a new platform, build it really nice in 365. Let's move your data into it. But at least you've got your structure, your foundations created correctly. You've not pulled something across that doesn't belong. So that's how we've kind of chunked it up, is look at the worst side of it. It was the data, it was Google Sites. The identity, that was the easier part. It's complicated, but data was far more complicated, and how we map that back across all the users that all across the globe, of course, different sites, different tenants in one location. It's quite a minefield. But the tooling from Microsoft has definitely helped that migration manager, namely.
I mean, you've been doing a great job, really, the whole team.
Absolutely, they have.
With that, me being close to the team and seeing how things are done, I think we can say confidently, if any enterprise are looking to make that move, they should come to your team.
Absolutely.
You are the UK leading digital transformation team now.
Yeah, they've been incredible.
But that takes us to the point where IT leadership and staying current is actually important for the businesses in the long run, because working with hundreds and thousands of organizations throughout our career, we always seen it. You have a small startup, they start, okay, let's just do Google, Google Drive, and then the business grows faster than they think. They are busy doing what they do because that's their business. They're not an IT company. But what do you think about doing reviews and revisions and maybe hiring specialists once a year, once every couple of years, to do an independent review and say, this is where you are, guys. This is where you can be. This is how much you're missing out. Because if they leave it, the sprawl will be crazy and you'll be in a position that's really difficult to adapt and change.
Yeah, agreed. I think the idea of reviewing a customer that's got, say, a Google investment and showing the art of the possible 365 is huge. If you look at the licensing plans, I think they're in favor of 365. If you look at the world as an entity, the collaboration is always Microsoft. It's very rare you find someone sharing you a Google Teams invite, a Google invite, and then going into Teams. So I think that review of showing this is where you're at, this is how much data you've got, this is how you're managing your data. Did you know if you pull that into SharePoint and put Copilot on that and pointed an agent to it, it's going to change your world completely? Because that's stuff that Google doesn't do. And we've used the expression quite a lot in the team, the art of the possible, and it's so true. I think less is more in the documentation, not too much. Like if you're doing a health check or a review of what's possible to come across, not too wordy. Let's get the big PowerPoint points in there saying this is what you could get if you come across, this is the equivalent, this is what you're missing. That will go a long way.
So basically show them rather than tell them, and they'll see it in action.
Yeah, definitely.
They'll get the story.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, from like what you do, showing them videos and how it can be done, empowering them. Quick, punchy videos go a lot further than about 4 paragraphs on the text on the page.
Absolutely. It's all about content now, really. If you think about it, and even if you follow LinkedIn, you see now they've made a new tab for video. So it's a fundamental part of content delivery, because I think the attention span, generally speaking, now people want the information.
They do.
Quick, straight to the point with as little effort as possible, because it's the social media generation now. When we started, you remember, getting SQL for Dummies and all these big books. Now it's a different game with the TikToks and Reels.
Yeah, you're so. Do you remember? I remember my shelf back in my old house had a line of blue books, which was the old Microsoft Event books, and I don't miss those things anymore at all. But I always thought, God, I need these for years. How funny! I don't need them anymore. But I think, like my 2 little ones, we give them a phone, they swipe and swipe and swipe because their attention span is very short. And I think we're guilty of the same. We just want to get that information into our heads and move on to the next piece. So, yeah, a punchy video showing the art of the possible, I think is a massive win. Even now today, even the older crowd that were in IT for many, many years, they still appreciate a punchy video showing what can be done.
Absolutely. So we said throughout the podcast today how digital transformation is going. It's growing. Yeah. Now even huge enterprises, international enterprises, are going through that process, which means you need consultants, you need specialists who are able to do that work. And where you are in your position, you do team building and you get consultants to deliver the digital workplace services for the clients. What advice do you have for IT specialists or young people or people who want to get to the field in 2025? What are the skills that you see are most in demand now for the digital workplace? Is there like a starting point and then people can learn more and more as they get in? I mean, is there like an entry point? Really, if you take it and tell me how you view that because you will be hiring people. So what we'll be looking for in 2025?
Yeah, no, good question. And I think the 365 stack's massive, isn't it? But you need that common background. So you need to know your Azure AD. You need to know that. You need groups, your dynamic groups. You need to know your Intune, your Purview. To a point, Purview is huge, but showing that you understand the policies and how the labeling works, that goes a long way. So the foundations for me is your Exchange management, your Intune. That side of 365 is basically your foundations. Everything is built out from your foundations. That's your starting point. Once you got your head around Intune, and especially around BYOD, that's really important, and it's normally missed a lot by customers, so they don't understand about securing their data. Once you've got past that bridge, it's really where do you want to go in your career? Where do you feel your best fit? Some people go down the SharePoint route after they've learned the basics of 365, and SharePoint, as we know, is massive. Everything in 365 is based on SharePoint. It's just the way it is, So that I understand that. It's not my realm completely, but I've got a passion for it. My bigger passion is the transformation from different solutions into 365. So definitely skilling up. What we're seeing a lot of is now Google to 365. that is quite a specialist area, and I'm starting to appreciate how challenging it can be and the skills required to understand Google GAM is very different to PowerShell. If you can understand Google GAM and how to use that in that world, that's going to go a long way, and you'll get my attention massively if I saw that.
Right.
Yeah, definitely on that side. And tenant migrations, it's all about the tooling. We use a few tools here. I mean, to name a couple, ShareGate or BitTitan, all fantastic. So getting your head around those products, because that's what's used, is great. But don't forget the native tooling. Know Migration Manager. Understand how that works, how that can work for you from putting on-prem file servers or connecting into Google, how to utilize it to your advantage. Because I know Microsoft are investing heavily into Microsoft Manager at the moment. They're really pushing it and pushing the boundaries of what it can achieve. And it's always stepping up. We're privileged because of what we are. We're getting shown some private preview features. If they get released, fantastic. They'll be incredible for everybody. So, yeah, get your foundations of 365 and be comfortable with Intune. Understand migrations. Skill up on Google to migrations if you can. And understand device migrations, because that's lost on many consultants. If I ask that question on a 10-to-10 migration, what happens to a device, I get very different answers and they're not all correct. So understand that side of it, because we know the answer for device migration is a wipe, and that's what Microsoft state. Okay. We're lucky. We've got some in-house tooling we've used to move it across without the wipe, which is out there on the internet you can find, but we've bespoke it a bit more, and it's understanding, okay, what's the art of the possible here? How can I improve what's out there? And that all goes a long way. If I hear anything like that, or you talk to me about that, you've definitely got my attention.
Oh, brilliant. In terms of the roles in the Microsoft sphere, the Microsoft partner, so we're talking about the digital workplace, which is close to heart, as you know. How do the roles look like, and what can people expect when they get to them? So, like a junior engineer, field engineer, consultant, architect. We see this on job postings. We see them referenced on Microsoft sites, etc. So, if you could, share with us how the roles look like and what do they entail? I mean, what makes them different?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, I suppose we'd have consultants, and consultants would be configuring the 365 to a baseline standard that I'd recommend from Microsoft, which we've obviously would fine tune. That's your basic level there, and maybe a bit of troubleshooting. Obviously, we're project based driven, so that's money. If you go out for interviews, normally that is what you'll be doing is projects. You're not really in the service desk arena, but there might be an element of a problem that you might have to look into. And that sort of level is where I'd expect that sort of consultant to be. When we start moving up the tiers a little bit, we're going into the senior consultants. There, we're starting to dabble now. We're starting to look into Intune deployments. How are we going to protect company data? Are we looking into Purview now? A bit of data loss protection, maybe. Are we touching into SharePoint and constructing sites and then understanding all those realms? So you're starting expanding your skill set. You're starting to dive into a bit more of the stack, and maybe be a bit more customer facing. So a bit more of engagements there. But when we start getting to your architects, your technical architects, that's when we start seeing, okay, bigger change, bigger salary increase, because we're now looking at you for how are you going to design and fit this migration in that time constraints to that budget. And they got all these complexities sitting on-prem and their old tenant, and you need to structure that path. That is quite a skill, because you have to spend 5 or 10 days going through their tenant, going through the infrastructure, understanding it, and then you mapping it in your head. How am I going to move this across with the most minimal disruption to the end user and make it a success?
In terms of certification, is that something that you look for, something that you prefer? Is there like certificates within the digital workplace that are priority or good to have when someone applies for a job, or you look for it yourselves? Does it play a part, or maybe it's irrelevant, and then when the right person joins you, you ask them to certify later? How do you go about that part?
Yeah, that's a good question. If they haven't got the certifications, it's not a showstopper. if they can describe in detail, again, let's go to a migration. If they could describe the steps, and maybe I might intercept with a few questions on those steps, and if they got the right answers, that shows to me, and they've got the experience, that they can come through the door and join our team. But obviously, we need to keep our accreditation up with Microsoft. So there will be a requirement at that stage. Look, we need you to take some exams. But the good thing is then it's funded by the business, because obviously we want you to get certified. We need it for our interest. It's in your interest, to progress in your career. So it's in your interest. So if you don't have the exams, I wouldn't suggest, I wouldn't say don't apply for a job. Apply. It's down to experience. It's down to what you've done and how you come across. And then let's talk about the exams, because they can be done by anybody. We can all find time to get exams done. So it's not a showstopper. If you've got them and you've got loads of them, fantastic. But I still want to know about your experience. That's still key. It will help you through the door, but it doesn't mean you get a seat. It's all about what can you tell me about and articulate.
So it's like icing on the cake, isn't it? So you want the foundation, the human skills, what you bring to the table, if we could say that, and then, ticking all these boxes. If you come with a certification, you pretty much made it to the finish line. Yeah,
definitely. The cert is, like you say, the cherry on the cake. It's just are you the right fit, the first part, and can you describe everything that is involved in a migration, if that's what we're looking for in that particular time.
Let's talk about something that I know we both are equally passionate about, and AI at the digital workplace, which has been growing in an unbelievable manner over the past 18 months.
Incredible.
With agents, co-pilots, custom AI. It's reshaping the workplace, the legacy experience with the storing the documents somewhere, well organized, searching for it. This is all now changing.
It's incredible.
In your view, how do you think the digital workplace will look like over the next 2-3 years with AI? What kind of impact do you see on the user experience, and even the consultants, the way they do things, the skills they need with the introduction of AI in what we do?
Yeah, it's gonna be fascinating, isn't it? I can't wait to see what's around the corner. It's already incredible as it is, and I think it's going to be the first thing that's going to come out of business is data security, isn't it? Because once you've got AI floating around doing its thing, is it protected? And I think we could even say AI can protect my data. I think we're always going to want that human touch to make sure, is it protecting your data in the right way? And we go back to Purview. Is Purview configured in a way to protect the employees, protect the data, protect the company, protect the owners? Maybe they don't want their data to be seen elsewhere. So I think for me, I see the transformation, firstly, is probably data governance, data security is going to be the biggest part. And I think AI is going to be absolutely beneficial to us, because I think 18 months, 24 months down the line, the whole concept of, we just talked about a SharePoint and creating a structure, we won't be doing that anymore. We'll tell AI, this is what I want it to be used for. This is what its purpose is. These are the people involved, and away it goes. It's going to make life easier, definitely. But I think we need to be careful not to trust AI to a point that it runs away with itself. We need to understand it. And that's what the expertise is going to come from. Is the customers are going, I love AI. It's running everything for us. Don't know how it works. We need to be those people. And I think that transformation for us in digital work is going to be understanding the mechanics of the AI. How does it do it? What's it doing? Because when you've got that understanding, you can troubleshoot it, because it's never going to be perfect. Nothing is in IT. We know that. It always.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You have to hit the restart button a few times.
Even now,
and then it sorts itself out at some stage.
Magic fix. And but yeah, I think that's where we're going to be going. Is it will make life easier for the customers, and it will make it easier for us consultants. But we need to understand it.
Have you been using any AI tools in your day-to-day work yourself? And the team, what do you like? What impact you've seen on what you do yourself?
First of all, Copilot is a game changer. For meetings that I can't make, that I've been invited to do a recap, is phenomenal. That's got me out of a jam a few times, to replay back a meeting and say, oh, what did Ehab say back then? And it'll come back and tell you exactly what you said. I've got it listed and I've got it documented. It's really handy. It's also when you go on holiday, isn't it? When you come back, what have I missed in the last 5 days that's important? So yeah, Copilot is definitely, his name does it justice, doesn't it? It is fantastic. And I'm getting really into the agent for SharePoint, pointing it to a document library, and then without me having to open up 1,000 Word documents to find something I might need, to ask Copilot to tell me, I need to know a little bit more about this. Off it goes and reports back on where I can find that information. That has just been such a time saver. And I don't have much time in a day. So things like the AI agent for me in SharePoint and Copilot, yeah, I can't imagine now, which is so bizarre, having a world without that. And that's only been in my life in the last 6-7 months, Copilot. So it's crazy, isn't it, how you adopt and you rely on it so quickly.
It's an absolute game changer. I even use it to generate content and summaries and documents. I quite like in MS Word the ability to merge different documents related to the same project.
Yeah, or creating a PowerPoint and referring to a Word document you've just done. That's impressive when it can spit out a deck slide for you. It's not too far off. Might need a bit of tuning, but it's not bad at all. It's definitely, I think it's worth the money.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, few people tell me even if my work don't pay the license, I'll pay the license. That's how much. That's how much they love it. You mentioned something about not trusting it fully, and the experts and specialists need to be involved to make sure it's fine-tuned. And you started the AI benefits with data security. Do you have concerns for organizations and personal use for AI, to be honest, with the fast growth that we are witnessing? Because it's not going one step at a time, it's going quantum leaps at a time. Are there any concerns that you see, things that people should keep in mind when it comes to AI adoption?
I think we're lucky because these features, they do come out, but they're normally either licensed or you need to turn on a feature to make that process happen. And I think my word of caution is don't turn anything on unless you know what it does. And I think as we develop and we skill up, we realize that little slider button that you can turn on as a preview can have really bad repercussions on you. So my advice is, embrace the new that's coming in. But before you do, understand a little bit what you might need to protect. And I think that was quite true for Copilot in the early days, where it would go off and find anything you wanted to find out if Purview wasn't involved. And then Microsoft was like, hang on a minute, some companies aren't taking this on because they realize it could be quite scary. We can turn it on and actually limit it to a certain SharePoint site or certain groups. That is really key. So I think when you see something brand new and sparkly coming in, maybe just hold back a month or two for turning on to see what's going to happen with that sort of feature is my advice. But that's where I'd go with that.
So don't follow the "what does that button do"
scenario. It's so tempting to push, but don't push it just yet. Do your research. But yeah, it's really interesting. I can't wait to see what comes out of Microsoft in the next couple of years.
Absolutely. And I think now even Copilot, today, so I've seen a couple of things today, but I'm sure you'll be interested. One of them is the Teams customer live chat that's coming out. So basically it is a Copilot like bot experience, but it doesn't work like Copilot. It works through the public website for the organization.
Wow.
And it's got a smart model behind it. So, when people, please insert your name, your number, the questions they ask, and the responses they get, and that would generate leads and follow-ups from the website right into MS Teams. It's amazing.
That's awesome. That's actually incredible. That for an insurance company, could you imagine that? That would be incredible for them, wouldn't it? Yeah, I can see a lot of potential there.
It keeps coming. It keeps coming, which is exciting for us, really.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
these updates, it keeps us on our toes.
Definitely.
Excited and looking for the next big thing, to bring value to the world.
Yeah,
I love it. I think we are fortunate to be where we are in our field.
we are, and I think you forget how much time it can save you, and it's that ROI on Copilot that gets lost sometimes. But it is a massive game changer in saving time for a day. So yeah, no, keep bringing it on. Definitely, I think I can't imagine not using it day to day. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. The same. And I'm looking also to look into the Copilot Plus PC experience that also has additional value and on the outside of the corporate productivity. I've actually posted a video today, if you can check it on LinkedIn.
Whoa.
Microsoft, they've included Copilot as part of the Captain America movie.
Oh, have they really?
Yeah, so they have like a scene where the sidekick for Captain America, they're connected. You know how the superhero movies were connected, talking to the new Captain America, and he fires up his Copilot Plus PC. And he starts talking to Captain America, doing designs with Copilot.
Fantastic.
Saying, "Oh, how do you want your new uniform to look like?" And starts scribbling. It's amazing. But you see, the fact that you see Copilot logo and Copilot used as the AI assistant on pop culture and mainstream, I think Microsoft are pushing it not just for the organizations, but like a personal assistant as well.
Yeah, this is not a flash in the pan. This is here to stay. It's just going to get bigger and bigger. Absolutely, that's really cool. I look forward to seeing that.
Yeah, it's quite fun. I giggled when I saw. I said, what we do is making its way to Marvel.
It's actually cool elsewhere. Yeah, that's quite cool. I like it.
So Lee, one of the questions that I ask our guests is recommendations for books.
Oh, okay.
Because I know people have different readings and different lists that they go through. So I wonder, do you have any recommendation for people to add for their reading list in 2025?
Yeah. Oh, well, I've only just finished the Da Vinci Code. Can you believe that? And I really enjoyed it. I've never seen the film, so I actually enjoyed the book. But I've been told the film is not as good. So if you've not seen the film, definitely read the book. But the next one I thought, have you read Da Vinci Code? Have you said that one?
I've seen the movie.
Okay, that's pretty quicker.
I'm like the TikTok crowd. I watch the movie, not read the book.
Yeah. I've watched the movie. I'll probably be disappointed. The next one I'll do is Things I Learned from Falling. I don't know if you heard of that one.
No.
So I think it's a true story about a lady in America that she was on a hike and she fell in the desert between these boulders. She broke her pelvis, broke her legs, and she was literally stuck. Yeah, she survived for 4 days in the sun. And the rescue crew believed that she would be dead. No water, nothing. But she made it through, and it's about her journey in her head and how she sort of mentally managed to keep it together. And I'm quite excited to read that, because someone like that's a strong character, isn't it? That's someone who's got desire to not leave this world yet. They're not ready to go, regardless of what has happened to them. So
it's amazing what the human spirit can do.
Yeah,
isn't
absolutely.
it? When you believe in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine just having that sort of worry over you. Like, this is it. This end of my life. It's got to wait until I don't wake up again. But she got through it. So it's Things I Learned from Falling is what I'd recommend. By the looks of it, that's what I'm going to go for.
Oh, amazing. I'll check it out. I'm not sure if they actually made this one into a movie as well.
No, maybe, it might be a bit dull though. I don't know. It's the same
because the storyline sounds familiar. I've seen that they made the movie, but it could be a different person, like but a similar experience. That someone was stuck between, like they were climbing and they were stuck between two mountains. For a few days.
I think they cut their arm off, didn't they, or something? Was it? It was horrendous.
Yeah.
I'm sure that was what it was. Pretty bad.
The things you like, Lee, the things you enjoy.
Yeah, no, I don't watch those sort of things all the time. No.
Amazing. Is there anything that you would like to share with the viewers? Something, that goes with what we discussed today, a topic you think that would be useful and beneficial for people who find what we do interesting?
Yeah, I think follow your passion, but don't be scared. Don't be scared to try things. I think someone told me is the biggest failure you can have is actually not trying, and it's okay to fail when you've tried, but don't be the other way around. And I try to remember that. I think at the end of the day, if you've got the right personality, you're likable, you get on well with people, and you're proving that you can go out and learn what you don't know, then you're going to be okay. Just don't fear that change, because we're creatures of comfort sometimes, and who knows what's around the corner. But also don't forget, when it's good where you are, don't just leave if you think it's a good thing to do. But it's right, it's right. You have to look within.
So this is for the team. If you're watching the podcast and reach this point, change is good, but stay in my team, please.
Stay in my team, because I've got the incredible crew that I cannot ever leave. They are the best, and I hope I can keep adding to them as well, because they are a brilliant bunch.
Oh, fantastic. Is there anything exciting happening for you this year? Any plans, any projects that you're planning to do?
For me, I think it's just, as we discussed, it's just keep expanding my mind and trying to understand what's coming around the corner. I find it fascinating what is around the corner. The whole AI side is fascinating. The whole learning engines and how it's going, it's incredible. And it's interesting when I like to dabble in PowerShell, and then you think, do you know what? I wonder how I can improve that. And when you throw it to AI and it spits it back to you and makes those amendments, my mind's blowing. But that for me is a passion to keep exploring what's coming from Microsoft, because they just don't stop. They're not going to stop. And that's for me. 2025 is going to be the AI journey, and it's soaking up as much as I can, because it's going nowhere. It's going to be part of our lives as it is already, if not a lot more so.
Absolutely. I've really enjoyed, as you know, we always have these chats, always off camera. Today, we put it on camera to share it with the world. I know how busy you are, so I really do appreciate your time, your insights. You don't always get the chance to hear from someone like you to share the actual, life experiences and the corporate world and in the Microsoft space. So this will be really valuable to people listening.
Oh, I hope so. Thank you very much for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it. And good luck to everyone who's looking out there for the next step. And like I say, just go for it. You're not going to fail.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you all. Thank you, Lee.
Thank you, Ihab. We appreciate that.